You are standing in the dimly lit break room, stirring a clump of off-brand powdered creamer into a lukewarm cup of office coffee that tastes like battery acid and crushed dreams. You are staring blankly at a faded motivational poster on the wall that says teamwork makes the dream work, while simultaneously wondering if aggressively swallowing a handful of paper clips would successfully count as a valid workplace injury. Your favorite coworker, the one you always go to lunch with, the one you complain about management with every single day, walks in. You smile. You feel a genuine human connection in this soulless, fluorescent purgatory. Stop right there, dump the coffee, back out of the room slowly, and remember that in the corporate jungle, that person is not your friend. They are a ruthless predator wearing a pastel cardigan, just waiting for the perfect moment to step on your neck so they can get a 2% raise. Let us have a very serious, very uncomfortable conversation about the grand illusion of the workplace friendship. We all fall for it. It is a survival mechanism. You are trapped in a miserable cubicle farm for 40 hours a week, bathed in overhead lighting that makes everyone look like a recently reanimated corpse. The human brain simply cannot process that level of prolonged isolation and boredom without trying to form a trauma bond with whoever is closest. So you find someone. You find the person sitting in the pod next to you, who also rolls their eyes whenever the regional manager says the word synergy. You share a look across the room, a knowing, exhausted, cynical look, and boom, you immediately think you have made a true friend. Wow, we both fiercely hate the same pointless weekly status update meeting. We must be soulmates. Let us share our deepest career insecurities and our weekend plans. What an absolute, monumental mistake. They are not your friend. You are simply two hostages comparing the quality of your blindfolds. The very second the captor offers one of you an extra slice of stale bread, that trauma bond is going to evaporate faster than a drop of water on a hot stove. And you are going to be left standing there, completely bewildered, with a metaphorical knife sticking directly out of your back. Let us set the scene of the crime. Let us walk through the exact anatomy of a workplace betrayal, frame by agonizing frame, so you never make this tragic mistake again. It is a Tuesday. It is always a Tuesday because Tuesday is objectively the most pointless, soul-crushing day of the entire week. Mondays have the chaotic energy of a fresh disaster, and Wednesdays mean you are halfway to freedom, but Tuesdays are just a vast, endless wasteland of unread emails and existential dread. You are sitting at your desk, quietly minding your own business, probably pretending to read a massive email chain, while actually contemplating whether faking a minor medical emergency would successfully get you out of the afternoon brainstorming session. And then you hear it, the sound of pure, unadulterated corporate panic. It is coming from your work best friend. They are sighing loudly. They are typing aggressively on their keyboard, hitting the backspace key like it owes them money. They are muttering under their breath in a way that is specifically designed to get your attention. "Oh no," they whisper, just loud enough for you to hear over the low hum of the air conditioning. "Oh no, the quarterly projection metrics. Where are the historical data files?" Being the naive, generous, big-hearted fool that you are, you roll your ergonomic chair over to their desk. "Hey," you say, "what is wrong? Can I help you look for something?" First mistake. Never ask if you can help. Just put your noise-canceling headphones on, turn up the volume, and stare straight ahead at your monitor like a lifeless mannequin. But you did not do that, because you genuinely thought you were friends. You thought this was a mutual alliance against the forces of upper management. Your coworker looks up at you with wide, desperate, panicked eyes. "I cannot find the 2022 fourth quarter legacy compliance reports. The boss wants them in 20 minutes for the major executive sync meeting. If I do not have them, I am going to be fired. I am going to be completely ruined. I will have to move back in with my parents. I will never recover from this. I will be living in a cardboard box under a bridge, begging for spare change while muttering about pivot tables." Now, you happen to know exactly where those files are located. Why? Because you spent 6 agonizing hours last month organizing the chaotic shared drive while everyone else was eating grocery store birthday cake in the main conference room. "Do not panic," you say, like a benevolent superhero descending from the heavens. "I know exactly where they are. They are buried deep in a subfolder called archive_final_real final_do not delete. You literally navigate to the folder on your own computer, you copy the files, and you send them directly to your coworker's inbox. You saved the day! You are an absolute hero. Your coworker practically weeps with immense gratitude. "Thank you so much," they say, clutching their chest as if you just donated a kidney to them. "I literally owe you my life." You are the absolute best. Remember those exact words. Tattoo them on the inside of your eyelids because they are going to age like an open carton of milk left in a hot car during the middle of July. Fast forward 30 minutes. It is time for the all-important team meeting. You are sitting around the large, ridiculously expensive mahogany table in the main conference room. The air is terribly stale, smelling faintly of dry erase markers and despair. The projector is humming loudly, displaying a blank screen. Your boss, a person who uses the phrase, "Let us circle back," unironically at least 4 times a single day, is standing at the front of the room looking incredibly self-important. They probably just finished reading an article online about disruptive synergy, and they are practically vibrating with corporate buzzwords. "All right, team," the boss says. "Before we begin looking at the slides that took 7 people 14 hours to compile and that no one is actually going to read, I just want to take a moment to give a massive shout out to someone who really went above and beyond for the department today." You sit up a little straighter in your chair. You are ready. You are so ready for the public praise. You are fully expecting your coworker to raise their hand and say, "Actually, boss, I was completely lost and panicking, and my brilliant colleague sitting right here saved the entire presentation by finding the lost files." Oh, you absolute idiot. You sweet, pathetic, trusting clown. The boss continues speaking. "I want to thank your coworker, sitting right here, for doing a massive deep dive into our chaotic shared drive to pull the legacy compliance reports at the very last minute. That shows incredible initiative, amazing problem-solving skills, and true leadership potential." You freeze. The blood immediately drains from your face. The room suddenly feels like it is spinning out of control. A massive deep dive? They literally just sat there sweating and complaining while I did the work. I dragged and dropped the file into their inbox. What deep dive? They did not dive anywhere. They barely even waded into the shallow end of the digital pool. You quickly look over at your work best friend. You are desperately waiting for them to correct the record. You are waiting for them to smile awkwardly and say, "Oh, well, actually, it was a massive team effort. I had a lot of help." But they do not do that. They just sit there. They nod humbly. They put a hand on their chest and look the boss right in the eyes, soaking up the unearned glory like a thirsty sponge. "Thank you so much, boss. It took a lot of digging through the archives, but I knew exactly how critical it was for the executive sync, so I just rolled up my sleeves and got it done." You rolled up your sleeves? You rolled up your sleeves? The only thing you rolled up was the metaphorical rug that you just violently swept my entire contribution right under. You are sitting there, completely paralyzed by the sheer, unadulterated audacity of this person. It takes a monumental, almost supernatural level of self-control to not stand up, flip the heavy wooden table entirely upside down, and scream until your vocal cords physically give out. The rest of the meeting is a complete and total blur. You cannot hear a single word being spoken over the deafening sound of your own heart breaking and your blood boiling. You nod along to the presentation about quarterly deliverables and synergistic paradigm shifts, but inside, you are rapidly calculating the exact legal and human resources consequences of throwing a heavy metal stapler entirely across the table. Finally, the meeting ends. Everyone files out of the room, completely oblivious to the massive betrayal that just occurred right in front of their faces. You wait. You wait patiently until your coworker is standing completely alone in the hallway right by the water cooler. You approach them. You try to keep your voice steady, but there is an undeniable tremor of pure, concentrated betrayal in your words. "Hey," you say, forcing a tight smile that physically hurts your facial muscles. "What exactly was that in there? I literally found that document and gave it to you. Why did you tell the boss that you did a massive deep dive to find it?" You are fully expecting a frantic apology. You are expecting them to look incredibly embarrassed, to beg for your forgiveness. You are expecting them to say they just panicked under the spotlight and the words accidentally slipped out of their mouth. You expect them to offer to buy you lunch for the next month. You expect them to draft an email right then and there to the boss, clarifying that you were the actual mastermind behind the massive deep dive. But the mask finally falls off. The friendly, trauma-bonded work bestie entirely vanishes and is instantly replaced by a cold, calculating, dead-eyed corporate robot. They look at you, completely devoid of any human emotion. They do not even blink. "Look," they say, their voice entirely flat and devoid of any warmth. "Do not take it personally. You have to look out for number one in this business. There are no friends here. We are colleagues at best. We are colleagues at best." The sheer audacity, the absolute chilling sociopathic nature of that statement. They turn around and walk right back to their desk, leaving you standing alone by the water cooler, completely shattered, holding a tiny paper cup full of room temperature filtered water and nursing a newfound, deep-seated paranoia that will actively haunt you for the rest of your natural life. It is a remarkably lonely existence from that day forward. You miss the camaraderie. You really do miss having someone to roll your eyes with when things get ridiculous. But you look back at the metaphorical knife wound in your back, and you remind yourself daily that total isolation is vastly safer than inevitable betrayal. You learn to speak entirely in vague, non-committal corporate jargon. You become a completely emotionally detached entity from the hours of 9 to 5. You leave your personality in your car, you leave your empathy at home, and you bring nothing but your strictly defined job description into the building. You never share your snacks, you never share your secrets, and you certainly never, ever share your files. You become the absolute master of the polite decline. You build a fortress of plausible deniability around your desk. You start keeping a decoy spreadsheet open on your second monitor just so you always look entirely overwhelmed when someone approaches your perimeter. If anyone ever approaches you, smiling, asking for a quick favor, you look them dead in the eye and you lie. "I have no idea," you say. "I am just a colleague at best." So, to summarize this incredibly depressing reality check, trust absolutely no one, share nothing of value, and always assume that the person complimenting your outfit is actively plotting your professional demise. If you have ever been violently thrown under the bus by a work best friend who turned out to be a ruthless corporate sociopath, violently hit the like button right now. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue to fiercely validate our entirely justified workplace paranoia together. And please, do me a favor and drop a detailed comment below telling me the exact story of how your worst colleague stole your credit for something you did. I really need to read them tonight to remind myself exactly why I keep my office door completely closed and all of my spreadsheets double password protected. Alright, I genuinely have to go now. Someone from accounting just messaged me asking if I have a blank copy of the new expense report template, and I need to go pretend I do not know how to open a PDF file. Stay heavily guarded, my friends. Keep your friends close, and your colleagues on a strictly need-to-know basis.